I think it's best for Pogba to leave Manchester United. His performance against Arsenal was not good at all. It was a very poor performance from him. The team performance was bad, but his performance individually was probably the worst. He gave away the penalty. You should by no means give that away. You know how modern football is. Any touch against the opposition in the box is a penalty. Any touch. You cannot afford to touch the opposition nowadays in the box. All Pogba needed to do was just jockey Bellerin. Stay by Bellerin's side and prevent the cross from coming in. And even if the cross did come in, no one would have looked at him badly in the light that he's been looked at now by making that challenge. That challenge was a result of Paul Pogba not knowing what's around him. And I just think that it's best that he leaves Manchester United. He said that he wants to leave. Clearly, our manager cannot get him into a starting 11 or a balanced starting 11. Balanced, I say balanced like this because if any one of us, if you have the least amounts of football knowledge, you know that it's so simple to get a number 8 in a team. Paul Pogba is a number 8. The problem is our manager wants to play with 2 number 6s and a number 10. So we have a manager that is a negative manager. We have a manager that is not an attacking manager. He's a defensive manager. And as a result of that, he wants Pogba to conform to playing as a double number 6. Or otherwise Pogba can't play. Because when we played the Diamond beat RB Leipzig, but the Diamond could not beat Arsenal. And even in the first half against RB Leipzig, we weren't a good team at all. We gave them the ball and so forth. So I think it's quite clear that the manager cannot get Pogba into a starting 11, which I don't agree with. But I just feel that it's best for Pogba to leave. The amount of criticism that he gets is abnormal. Is abnormal. I'm still hearing Gary Neville call out Paul Pogba's price tag. How can you do that when you've got an 85 million defender, centre-back, that has not performed not once and justified his price tag? Not once has he justified his price tag. Paul Pogba has performed on numerous occasions and justified his price tag. Against Manchester City, where he single-handedly won us that game, where he scored 2 goals, is that not justifying an 89 million midfielder? That season where he had the most goals, most assists, most take-ons, most dribbles, most tackles, did that not justify an 89 million midfielder? When Ole Gunnar Solskjaer first came in and we had a honeymoon period, who was our best player? It was Paul Pogba. Who was the player that got Ole the job? It was Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba was either scoring or assisting in each and every game. Did that not justify 89 million? Yes, he's been inconsistent, massively inconsistent, but so has the team also been massively inconsistent. And even if you judge, currently our best player is Bruno. So even if you judge Bruno's performances, and you see when Bruno first came in at Manchester United, and you compare those performances with these performances that he's throwing out right now is chalk and cheese. Bruno's not performing at the same heights that he was performing when he first came in. So he as well is a little bit inconsistent. But the thing with Bruno is, Bruno takes penalties. And Bruno scores penalties. So the minute he scores a penalty, everyone forgets about his poor performance that he's throwing out. And when we don't score a penalty, like against Chelsea, like against Arsenal, you begin to see that Bruno is also performing poorly as the whole team. But Gary Neville, and what I want to tell you fans is that be very careful who you listen to. At this moment in time, where we have an ex-player and a legend of United managing, you cannot listen to any of our ex-players' verdicts on Manchester United. You cannot, because they're all speaking from a point of biasm. They've all played with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and they don't want to say anything negative against him. So they will always deflect it and point out the players and point out everything else but the manager. I've never heard Gary Neville criticize this manager. I've never heard it. I've heard Gary Neville many times criticize Jose Mourinho. I've heard Roy Keane many times criticize Jose Mourinho. But I've never heard them not once criticize Ole Gunnar. And Jose Mourinho is a much better manager than Ole Gunnar. So, this is what I'm telling you. You cannot listen to any of our ex-players that are now pundits. You cannot listen to any of them right now. the best people to listen to is the people on YouTube. They are the best people to listen to. And any other pundit that is not associated with Manchester United, like Tim Sherwood, Harry Redknapp, Jamie Carragher sometimes, they will all give you the honest truth. But anyone associated to Manchester United will not give you the truth. That this manager is a poor manager. I'm hearing Gary Neville bring out Paul Pogba's price tag. But I've never heard him not once speak about Harry Maguire's 85 million price tag. I heard Paul Scholes saying that the reason why we play with two holding midfielders is because we need to protect our centre-backs. We need extra cover to protect our centre-backs. An 85 million centre-back, the world's most expensive defender, should never need protection. I'm sorry, 85 million should never need protection. When I look at 75 million Virgil van Dijk, and I see Virgil van Dijk having no protection, defending one-on-one, and I see Virgil van Dijk playing alongside Matip and playing alongside Joe Gomez and making them look world-class. But whoever Harry Maguire plays next to, they all look the same level. They all look average. An 85 million defender, the world's most expensive defender, should never need protection. I'm sorry. He only should need one holding midfielder in front of him, not two. So the fact that we need to provide protection for the world's most expensive defender tells you all about his ability. That we should have never bought him in the first place for the price that we paid. But you will never hear the people speaking about that because they're biased. They will never bring up their own nation's defaults, their own nation's shortcomings. They will never bring that up, but they'll bring up the French players and all the other players the French players and all the other nations. But they'll never bring up the Englishmen who are the weakest in our team. They will never bring up them. So that's why I'm saying it's best for Paul Pogba to leave, because we've got a manager that is a negative manager, a manager that wants to play with two holding midfielders. In modern day football, you're coaching one of the biggest teams in the world. You want to play with two holding midfielders. All I ask you guys that are watching here right now, show me one attacking manager, one manager that's coaching a big team that plays with two holding midfielders. Please show me. You might be able to show me Hansi Flick at Bayern Munich. But let me point out to you that yes, they set up 4-2-3-1, but they do not play with two holding midfielders. You'll oftentimes see either when Kimmich attacks, Goretzka will stay behind, or when Goretzka attacks, Kimmich will stay behind. But they have turns to attack and hold. They're not both holding at the same time. And also at Bayern Munich, they play with wing backs instead of just full backs, in terms of saying that their full backs are always attacking. Their fullbacks are in the opposition's box. Can you remember when they played Barcelona? Alphonso Davies was in Barcelona's box and he passed to Joshua Kimmich in Barcelona's box, and Joshua Kimmich scored a tap-in in Barcelona's box. Two fullbacks in Barcelona's box at the same time. That's attacking football. That's attacking football. Unfortunately, we do not do that. So if you can tell me, we've got four defenders that do not attack. So we've always got a back four because our fullbacks do not attack. We've got a back four, and then Oli still wants to put two holding midfielders in front of them. So in essence, we're defending with six. Minus the keeper, we're defending with six, and we're only attacking with four players. Now, you answer that, my question, is he an attacking manager or a defensive manager? He's attacking with four players, he's defending with six players. You tell me. There's no team, big team in the world that is doing that right now. No big team. Manchester City attack with sometimes 6 players, 7 players. 6 players they're attacking with. Liverpool is the same. All the big teams, that's how they attack. If you see how Chelsea set up against Burnley this past weekend, Frank Lampard played 4-3-3. In his midfield, he had Kai Havertz. On the right, he had Mason Mount on the left, and he had Kante holding. He played with almost 2 number 8s and a number 6. And even those number 8s in Kai Havertz and Mason Mount, they're not number 8s. They lean more to number 10s because both of them cannot defend. Both of them are much more attack-minded. Both of them. So all we are saying is, if our manager had any idea about football, he would he would change his formation from 4-2-3-1 to 4-3-3. put Paul Pogba on the left of the midfield, put Bruno Fernandes on the right of the midfield, and put Fred in the center. And he will play Bruno and Pogba as two number 8s. Paul Pogba's best position is a number 8. Bruno Fernandes can play in the number 8. He plays in the number 8 for Portugal. Or even if Oli wants to persist with Bruno number 10, at least play Paul Pogba as a number 8 on the left of the midfield. And only have Fred holding. Why do we have two players holding? Why? Because our manager is a defensive manager. And so, what you're going to see from now going forward, guys, you're going to see Oli. That Oli's approaching the sack. I'm telling you, Oli's approaching the sack. Oli has started the season and he doesn't have a formation. He's chopping and changing formations every week. He doesn't have a starting 11. He doesn't know who's his best players. He's always chopping and changing his starting 11. And he cannot get the best out of his players. He's not getting the best out of Paul Pogba. He's not getting the best out of Bruno Fernandes. He's not getting the best out of Anthony Martial. So he's got a very big problem. And anytime those factors are in place, a manager is approaching the sack. Remember when Jose Mourinho got sacked? He got sacked, the results were poor, but also he got sacked. He never know which was his best 11. He was benching Paul Pogba, his best player. He wasn't getting the best out of his players, and as a result of that, he got sacked. So Ole Gunnar is approaching the sack. And it's well worth it. It is time. It is time that he gets the sack. People were saying when he first started, and people like me and many others, we were saying Oli needs to get sacked. We were saying we could see the sign from earlier that he wasn't good enough. And people said, let's give him time. Okay, we've given him time. It's almost 2 years, and he's still inconsistent. The team is still as inconsistent as it was when he first took over. And it's 2 years now. People said, okay, give him some transfer windows. Give him his players. Oli has bought players. And some of the players, most of the players that he's brought in is questionable. Most of them. Harry Maguire for 85 million. What were you thinking? Wan-Bissaka for what? 50 to 55 million that cannot attack. In modern day football, we got a fullback that can't attack. What are you thinking? Daniel James should have never been bought. We wasted 15 million because he's not even good enough to be on our bench. You buy Donny van der Beek, who is another number 10 when you have a number 10. Instead of buying a CDM, because we don't have a proper CDM. Nemanja Matic is our only CDM and he's old. So a position in the midfield that you should have focused on was a CDM instead of you focused on a number 10 that can't get into the team. So these are all the decisions that he has made. We said let's give him signings. He has his signings. He made some questionable signings, but he has signings right now. And we are still inconsistent. We still don't have a style of play. We are still performing poorly. And we don't look like we're any closer to challenging than what we were when Sir Alex left. So these are all the warning signs. And now we are playing a game in a Champions League. I think we're playing on Wednesday against that Istanbul team. We will beat them. They are a small team. They're not a very good team. We will beat them. I expect Ali to ring the changes. I expect to see Juan Mata. I expect to see Juan Mata. I expect to see obviously Anthony Martial. Maybe Cavani. You will see Donny van der Beek. I expect him to ring the changes. But the match that I'm worried about is the match against Everton. I want to see what does he do. Because if we go back to Fred and Scott McTominay, which I'm sure he will, we are in for it. Those guys are not a combination for you to have possession football. We've got a negative manager that's only plan is to play on the counter-attack. So I don't know what more to say, guys. Let's just see what happens during this week. And most importantly, let's see what happens on the weekend when we play Everton. And let's just see because United are all over the place. Ciao.